with us while we're just getting a couple mics swapped out here. But thank you, Sam, and thank you to RESO for the opportunity to be here. We're actually really excited about this session. It's not lost on me that we are between you guys and lunch, though, so we are going to try to stick to our time for any grumbling stomachs out there. And we'll have our fourth panelist up here just as quickly as we can get the mic swapped out. But I'll go ahead and get us started. Like Sam said, this is a really important relationship, I think, for everyone involved, for the National Association, for Second Century Ventures and REACH, and for RESO. And to really set the stage for that, for us, we hear the word disruptors a lot, or disruption. And while we don't mind hearing that word, we're not looking for disruption's sake. What we're looking for is for innovation to be an actual meaningful opportunity for thoughtful evolution. And that's why this relationship with RESO is so important to us, and I can't think of a better organization to be aligned with when we think about thoughtful evolution, and not just two kids in a garage coming up with an idea to break the industry just, again, for disruption's sake. So I'm hopeful it will kind of come through with these four panelists here from four of our REACH portfolio companies. We have, I believe, 7 REACH portfolio companies here at the event, and we hope to have over a dozen at the fall event and throughout the various work groups. So my ask is, please help us collaborate more. Please help invite our REACH portfolio companies to better understand your world, your key stakeholders, and understand their products and their platforms so that we can continue to really reinforce the collaboration that we have. So to set the stage for what we're going to talk about in this session, which is how have real estate standards impacted and advanced innovation, as well as how is the REACH Accelerator advanced innovation, I'm going to have each of our speakers give just a 10-second overview. This is not a product pitch. This is just telling you what their products and platforms do to set the stage for how they're innovating in this space. So Brendan, I'll start with you.
Yep, I am Brendan Fairbanks. I run Perchwell. Perchwell is a next-generation MLS platform.
Ishay?
Ishay, Grinberg, Rental Beast. We try to help MLSs become what they already are on the resale side, which is the largest marketplace and the source of truth on residential rentals.
I am Heather Elias, VP at Pearl Certification, and we provide energy efficiency data to the interior feature level to enrich listings, as well as support realtors and brokers as they protect the value of those home features.
My name is Alex Montalenti, the CEO of RealGrader. We help with reputation and online branding for real estate agents and brokerages, and we invented the Instacard. It's a digital business card that we can pre-build for any association or MLS.
Perfect, thank you. So hopefully you're already collaborating with these four brilliant prop tech executives, but if not, definitely come and connect with us here at this event, even before lunch. Just join us up here at this stage. But let's dive in on exactly how real estate standards can actually impact innovation in a meaningful way. So Brendan, I'll start right there. Tell us a little bit about how real estate standards have helped you guys innovate at Perchwell.
Yeah, so at Perchwell, a key piece of the value that we provide is we allow agents to harness data from a bunch of different sources and extract insights out of those data and present them to their customers, to their clients, giving them insights that they simply could not get anywhere else. Now, absent a RESO data standard, we, on our end at Perchwell, would have to spend a ton of time, a ton of resources, sourcing, aggregating, structuring data, dealing with the underlying data. But with the RESO standard, that gives us a core rubric, core standard that we can build to that is consistent across MLSs, consistent across geographies. And then we supplement that with an additional data module, a kind of adjacent data module that we call our localized fields data model. So that does give us the ability to deal with all of the different nuances, all the different idiosyncrasies, market to market, MLS to MLS. But the upshot is that we spend a lot less time, a lot less resources dealing with the underlying data challenges and underlying data nuances. So that enables us to then direct those resources to building at the API and application layers, which of course is far more visible to agents, far more beneficial to agents, and by extension to their MLSs.
Perfect, thank you. Ishay, turning to you. You guys, I should have mentioned, they all have various products and platforms, but that means different key stakeholders, different customers, different users. So can you tell us a little bit about how for you guys, for your users, how have data standards improved the user experience or user satisfaction with rental bees?
Yeah, we take on, I don't know, I think safe to say hundreds of data sources, feeds and such from a very wide universe of data providers. So property managers use platforms called property management software solutions, companies like Yardi, RealPage, and Entrada, you may have heard of. Then there is an entire universe of much smaller owners or investors in residential rentals that built their own customized data resource. Could be Excel spreadsheets or Word documents, or I think yellow notepads is actually not that uncommon in our world. So the standards essentially is creating a unified language, because we have to transport data from these hundreds or thousands of sources into our system, into the MLS, and then back and forth, right? So it just kind of really streamlines the ability to onboard a client, service a client, and make sure that everybody has the same amount of information.
Thank you. Quick question for all of our panelists. Raise your hand. How many of you guys were familiar with RESO, working with RESO prior to bringing your company through REACH?
One line.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Wrong answer.
I'm going to have this question over to Heather. Heather, you've been involved with REACH for years, serving as a REACH mentor, advising numerous portfolio companies, and now heading up the real estate division for one of our portfolio companies. So this question's in the vein of interoperability, but on the more technical side. That interoperability amongst platforms and tools, the efficiency in them all speaking to each other and working together is so important. Tell us why that's been so important at Pearl, and how data standards have really helped you guys with better interoperability.
Yep, and I'll qualify this by saying I'm going to answer it as a business development person and not as a technologist, because that's the role that I sit in there. But Pearl came through the REACH program starting back in 2017, so a lot of years of work going in there. I joined the company a year ago, and when I got there, I started working with a bunch of technologists who were super brilliant around the energy efficiency piece of things, but don't have any background at all on the real estate data standard side. So it remains still sort of a Tower of Babel situation where you have different languages being spoken, right? And we talk all the time about how RESO standardizes things within the real estate industry across the US and now across the world, but it actually provides a solid translation and pathway outside of the real estate industry for other data providers and other industries to kind of figure out a pathway forward within the real estate space in a way that makes sense. So, our technologists within the company have utilized a lot of the resources available from RESO to get their legs under them just about how the real estate industry works with data and how to properly integrate it.
Thank you. Alex, question for you. We were actually chatting in the back about this exact topic, but tell us about data standards and how that can help improve time to market or help improve customer experience.
So in our case, we don't deal with a lot of listing data. I know there's a lot of focus on listing data. We deal with agent information and agent contact data. So I'm really pleased to see that there's some new standards around that, and there's information being put into the MLS and the associations. But I can say also that it would be amazing if this data was complete. Like, we really need to require the agents to do it. And we're pre-building digital cards for an entire association in a matter of days. 200,000 members at California Association or Miami MLS, 60,000 members. And we're getting the data, and there's information that's missing because the agents haven't input it, right? But if you think about it, if they're using their digital card, that's gonna be the most up-to-date information. So they want it to be up to date, and we're like, hey, we pulled it from the MLS, and they're like, that photo, I haven't used that photo in forever. I'm like, well, go update it in the MLS. But for some reason, there's a disconnect there. Like, I think we need to require that somehow of them, and they should want to, because there's huge value there, right? I know all the MLSs are putting this information out in different ways, and it's giving them exposure, and it's a real value in this market that we're dealing with right now. So I think there's a lot of improvement there, and I think there needs to be some requirements or messaging that lets the agents know, do this, because this is really valuable. There's vendors that connect to this, and then you're gonna get all of this value.
You mentioned images. What are some of those other fields that, in an ideal world, you would hope to see completed?
Yeah, I mean, number one is photo, because I mean, we relate to people on photos. Then basic contact data should be there pretty good, but then social links, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube channels are important now. Link to your website, to your agent page. There's so many different fields that enrich the data, and our vision is to get the data, enrich it, and then somehow provide it back to you. But if we could just require it from the front end, we wouldn't even need to.
Perfect, thank you. Ishay, you guys have been incredibly active with the RESO team. So similar question or same question is, how have data standards helped you guys with time to market? How has it really expedited time to market or onboarding of new customers?
Well, three things, two unrelated, one related. One is you have to really engage your abs in these chairs. That's a good workout. Two, I want to say AI and large language models, because it's important to have it on the panels. And three, I just, ultimately it made it a lot shorter. I mean, that's the largest pole in the tent is the data mapping and data transport between a vendor and an MLS. So having a standard around that kind of built a baseline on required fields and something we can build of is just, the short answer is it made it shorter.
Sure.
Not much more than that, yeah.
Shorter's better?
Shorter is more efficient, yeah.
Yeah. Perfect, thank you. I'm going to turn a little bit now to talking about how Reach is helping prop tech founders accelerate innovation in this space. Again, with the common kind of interest between RESO and Reach to advance the industry through innovation. And we have over 250 portfolio companies now, so our hope is to be a great conduit to bring all of them to working and collaborating with you. But a little bit on the Reach side of things, how we're helping our prop tech founders. So Heather, question for you. Again, having seen many different sides of all things Reach, serving as a mentor, as an advisor now for one of our portfolio companies, what are some of the opportunities that you've had access to by way of Reach or industry challenges that you've been able to help to solve or to chip away at that you wouldn't have otherwise had access to?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things to lean into about the REACH program is that for companies that are coming into the industry that frequently have wonderful ideas but not a whole lot of background around the structure of the industry or how to really find their pathway within it, there is a really steep learning curve, and there are mistakes that get made over and over again by some of these smaller startups because they either don't have the resources, don't have the contacts, don't have the inherent industry knowledge. And I think that the beauty of the REACH program really is that it allows them, with the support from the mentors, from staff, and just the environment, to kind of leapfrog over things that could have tripped them up, right? You take the learnings from all of the prior portfolio companies and all of that vast knowledge from the mentor network, and it really accelerates it for the startups and helps them get up and running and not burn capital, especially not burn capital in getting their legs under them and getting to a success point within the industry.
Thank you. And I would say of those 250, over half of them are from outside the US, but very eager to enter the US market. So it is both our US-based and domiciled companies and founders, but also these really interesting solutions that are from other markets looking for that US entry, but know nothing about data standards, know nothing about organized real estate in the US market. And so it is our job to teach them, to coach them, to mentor them, to lead them to those opportunities, and in a way, like I said earlier, that is about thoughtful evolution and not just breaking things for breaking things' sake. You mentioned, the kind of teaching and coaching and mentoring aspect. A lot of that can lead to some really fruitful collaborations and partnerships. And Alex, you've enjoyed many of those in just a short time as a graduate of last year's program. So talk to us about some of the collaborations and partnerships that you've been able to help achieve in just a year and a half.
Sure. So what you said, lean in, I think a lot of companies have joined Reach, but I think you really need to lean in to get all the benefits. And I've seen a lot of that because I just applied 3 times to get into Reach. So when I finally got in, I'm like, I'm gonna take it all in. So, Reach introduced me to California Association of Realtors. We launched 200,000 Instacards for all their members. Their connection to the lab in Miami Association of Realtors, we launched with them. the fact that I'm here is because of Reach. You know, there's probably Jason Sanchez in the room somewhere. That gentleman is super generous. He taught me everything about the ecosystem here, like the MLSs, the associations, how it works, how the organized real estate works. And that was huge. And then he introduced me to a lot of different associations, which launched with us. And so, you know, there's that piece, but then there's also the piece of .realtor and .real estate domains. So we got, I think, Elizabeth in the room. And I've done webinars with her that were our highest producing webinars ever, right? So there's all these different elements, and that really helps accelerate, because like you said, you get in here, you don't really, you know, I've been in real estate 23 years, but I didn't understand the whole organized real estate. I didn't understand the ecosystems. I didn't understand the associations, the MLSs, how it all worked. And within a short amount of time, I was able to gain that knowledge, get the introductions, accelerate our growth, and it's been, you know, huge.
Yeah,
Huge for us.
perfect. You hit it on the head. That's exactly why we bring our companies to events like this. And what our hope is through Reach is to be that jet fuel. You could be in the business for 20-something years, and we want to be that extra jet fuel that really helps these solutions take off. Ishay, you might be setting some records in the Reach portfolio for collaboration with other portfolio companies. Some of them public, maybe some of them more kind of back-end collaborations and partnerships. Talk to us about how some of those cross-portfolio partnerships have really helped fuel your guys' success.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the most valuable thing for us within the Reach. I guess being part of Reach is essentially joining a family of hundreds of other entrepreneurs that are either in the market or introducing tools and platforms into the market. And you get this really intimate opportunity to sit down, study, learn about all these products and figure out where can you find synergies and how can you leverage that to kind of mutual benefit. So we've been very fortunate. You know, for example, we have always had in our DNA, we wanted to capture as much residential rental data as we can. So in order to do that, we need to make our platform as attractive as possible to a really wide range of folks that own property. It could be institutional investors that have hundreds of thousands of single-family rentals. It could be a mom and pop that has 2 doors. And these are 2 completely different entities that want different things. The large investor may want super sophisticated data analytic tools. The small investor may want something to just help them collect rent or get additional exposure to a vacancy. So within the Reach portfolio, of companies that do all of these things. One example, if Teresa is here, that we're cooking, not yet out of the oven, is Bosscat, right? So anybody that owns residential real estate at some point needs to fix something or buy something. I own rentals myself. Stuff always breaks and stuff always needs to happen when you turn over a unit. They did a great job building a platform that streamlines that. So how can we offer that in a way that makes sense to the millions of residential rental listings in our system, just as one small example.
Perfect, thank you. Brendan, question for you. Being a founder can be a rigorous process, a lonely process, an intimidating process. What are some of the learnings that you had going through the REACH program about the access that it unlocked throughout real estate?
Yeah, it certainly can. I mean, I probably haven't slept in 5 or 6 years, but you know, we'll eventually. I would say that REACH has been super helpful in really understanding, others have mentioned this, but the market dynamics. I mean, everything is pretty local too. We started in New York City, which is a much different real estate market than elsewhere in the country, and so REACH has been kind of instrumental in not only getting us in front of the people that can help offer advice and help offer different perspectives that we didn't have, but also for you know, really being a great sounding board today, because again, you can, as a founder, you can get into kind of your own echo chamber or your team echo chamber, and it's helpful to get out of that.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing when you go to the variety of events that we go to, events like this, but trade show environments, other markets, how really just telling that is if you just can open yourself up and be a sponge for all of that, which is something we really look for in our vetting process, is founders like these who are extremely open to the process, who are extremely open to knowing what they don't know yet, talking to agents and brokers from every corner of the industry, and even beyond US borders in that learning that really fuels their growth as well. So I'm gonna ask, as we're kind of rounding up here, ask each of our panelists here to kind of share What advice would you give, having worked with the National Association through REACH and through RESO, what's some advice that you would impart on other prop tech founders? I know that there's other prop tech founders here in the room on navigating this very complex industry. I'll start with you, Alex.
So I recently read a book called 10X is Easier Than 2X, and it said, if you want to double your business, there's 100 different ways you can double your business. But if you want a transformational 10X your business, there's only a few routes you can take. So I think through the NAR REACH program, I've identified those 3 routes. It's the NAR route, it's the MLS and association route, and it's the brand route. So I focus on those 3 routes, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and that just keeps me really focused. And I think the understanding of the overall ecosystem was key to see the whole picture.
Perfect.
So I would say look for that versus like everything you could possibly do, and just stay focused.
Heather?
I think that there is so much experience within the mentoring environment, and this is such a giving industry. And that doesn't matter whether you're talking about the brokerage side of the shop, the association side of the shop, or the MLS side of the shop. Everyone is trying to row the boat in the same direction towards success for the industry. So leaning into that inherent knowledge base and asking questions. Find the people that see value in what you're bringing to the table, see opportunity in what your new technology or new view of the industry is going to bring that we haven't already had, and ask all of the questions of them and soak up all the knowledge that you can get from those folks, because that's going to help inform your journey going forward.
Thank you. Ishay?
Yeah, I think 2 things. One is, I think it's very important. I wish somebody told me early on is it takes a while. And when you're starting a company, especially if it's not super capital efficient, you just need to be ready for that. I know Sam talks about that a lot. Sometimes I get on calls, and some of you here in the room, we've been talking to you and with you for years. I'm a sucker for a 10-year sales cycle. Don't get me wrong. That's what gets me going. But sometimes it just takes a while to really form a partnership. And I think from a founder's perspective, you have to be ready for that. You sympathize with that? It does happen. The second thing is, I just think that the industry is changing, and if you're getting into the business now, you kind of have to think about where the puck is going. That's what made Wayne Gretzky great. And MLS as an industry, I think, was about cooperation and compensation. Compensation is now going away, so I think cooperation becomes more important. Data quality becomes more important. Bill Fowler was talking about what the consumer actually wants. And if you're spending a lot of time and effort building something, I think you build that to where that is going, not necessarily where it's been, would be my two top pieces of advice.
Brendan?
Yeah, so I definitely sympathize that it does take a while. It takes certainly longer than you think. I'd also point out, though, that I think that groups like these are here to help maybe change things for the better, help accelerate that change. I'd also say kind of separately, some advice that I got when I started Perchwell was a little bit counterintuitive, because you have to be pretty careful with your time, but take every meeting for as long as you can. And I would really, especially in this industry, really kind of reiterate that, because there's so much knowledge, there's so much nuance, there's so much that kind of everybody in this industry can offer and help you understand to really get to the nuts and bolts of the industry, that I'm glad I followed that. I'm glad I still do, because there's really nothing more valuable than that.
Perfect. Thank you. Quick question for the crowd as we wrap up. Raise your hand if you serve as a REACH mentor. No, yep, I see a couple hands out there. So my hope is by the time we get to fall, or maybe that's a little ambitious, maybe we get to next year, that everybody in this room is potentially interested in serving as a REACH mentor. As you can see, these are really, really talented founders with really incredible solutions, but they very much value sitting down with you to hear what's working, what's not working, what those pain points are, what you like, what you don't like, what your key stakeholders like or don't like about the way they've built their products and how they can iterate from there. They're extremely open to your feedback. So if anybody is interested in serving as a REACH mentor, we would very much invite you to be part of our process and be part of helping fuel the success of solutions like each of these founders and the rest of the REACH portfolio. Or if you guys are working with other solution providers that you think are some really incredible solutions that also need that jet fuel, please always refer those founders and those solutions to us. And with that, thank you guys. Quick note before we go into lunch is we'd love if you want to engage with any of us to please join us up here before everybody goes into the lunch hour. But just join us here up on stage. Thank you very much to all of our panelists, and thank you to Sam and the RESO team for this opportunity. Thank you.